When coming up with ideas for my still lifes, I usually use Pinterest as an inspiration. So one day I was scrolling through it and I came upon this image. I thought it was a cool and unique concept to cut the food in half, and then it kind of got me thinking, well, how can I do this, but in my style, because I didn't want to copy it directly. And then I also started thinking from there, well, wait, I can just do this, since they use ice cream, and use this with real food, and then that led to using the Big Mac meal from McDonald's. From there, I quickly drew it and wrote it down in my little notebook of how exactly I was going to pull this thing off. I knew the biggest challenge was going to be cutting the drink in half, because it is a liquid, and you can't just have a liquid stay put like you can a hamburger. But once I figured out that I could just glue the cup to a piece of glass and then get rid of it later in Photoshop, everything just kind of snowballed from there. So with making everything, I started with the cup because I knew it would be the hardest and take the most time. I am horrible at cutting things straight, so that in itself was a challenge, but gluing wasn't too bad. I used Gorilla Glue at first, then went over it on the outsides with super glue to make sure it could actually hold liquids. And my fingers were also covered in Gorilla Glue, which happens every time I use it, but luckily I still haven't gotten stuck to anything yet, so. Then for the Big Mac, first I cut the box in half with an X-Acto knife, and then I put the burger in the box to measure where to cut that in half. Then last was the fry container. I cut it in half vertically, and at first I thought I could just use toothpicks to stick the fries into the cardboard to get them to stay put, but then realized that it wouldn't work and that the box itself couldn't stand up on its own, so I just used another piece of glass for a picture frame and glued it to the box. Then I wrapped up all the food so it would stay somewhat fresh and photo presentable for the shoot the next day. So right now I have everything set up, as you can see behind me, and I'm kind of just fine-tuning stuff and getting the focus and exposure right. Alright, so I quickly ran to McDonald's because I needed first Coke and ice to put in the half cup, and then because my Big Mac got a little squished in transfer, so I got another one. And the reason I'm wearing a glove is because I think everything in here is kind of gross, so I don't really want to touch it with my bare hands, so that's why glove is the next best thing for me. Though I do have to ruin my good knife, get my good knife all disgusting, but sacrifices you make. This thing does not smell good up close. I don't know how people eat this thing. Alright, now for the better and less gross part, but probably still more messy part, is to get the Coke and Ice into this. And kind of just like the last thing here, I have to get the lid on here looking nice, which I do have to glue, which I wish I didn't have to, but unfortunately I do need to glue this. Alright, so now that everything is set up the way I want, now it's just kind of more fine-tuning every little perfect detail until you get your shot. Alright, so now that I have the shot, I'm just getting the white balance for the image. So this is a color checker, and basically you just hold it up in front of your object and then take the picture. And then from there, when you're editing, you just go and select one of these points for your white point, and then your colors are going to be more accurately represented on screen as they are in real life, which for commercial photography is very important. And then kind of just the last thing here, I'm going to move everything out of the shot. So it's just going to be a picture of the background. And then when I'm doing the compositing in the editing to get rid of the glass, it's going to be easier because I can just easily use a mask to get rid of the glass and it's just be like it's not even there. Alright, so we're just going to take the picture now. And then it is a blank subject, and now I can easily go in and Photoshop this. Alright, so now that you saw the whole process of me creating the photo, here is what I got directly out of camera. And then here's the final edited version. I used the Phase IQ4 to capture this image, and it has a 150 megapixel sensor, so the image is already pretty big going into Photoshop. And then once I started, editing it in Photoshop as well, my computer started to slow down a little bit. So unfortunately, I was not able to record the process of me editing it because that just would have completely destroyed my poor laptop if I tried to do both at the same time. And a side note, I thought it was gross just touching the Big Mac with gloves on, but then after staring at it for a couple of hours, with what feels like more details than the human eye can see, I never want to look at another Big Mac again. But I am happy with this image. I think it turned out really well for how difficult of a concept it is, and as you saw, it did take a while to do, and like 90% of it wasn't even the actual image taking itself, so I kind of just wanted to show you behind the scenes kind of how much work and effort goes into making one image itself, and kind of like my process and how I do it. Also, this is image 1 of 9 for my commercial photography class final, so expect a lot more videos like this in the coming months.